on his strength as a businessman. Perhaps he was surprised on Friday when the Wall Street Journal editorial page said that the president-elect should liquidate his stake in the family business. It said, quote, one reason 60 million voters elected Donald Trump is because he promised to change Washington's culture of self-dealing. And if he wants to succeed, he's going to have to make a sacrifice and lead by example. Now, this is ironic, given that except for those damn emails, the issue that most dogged candidate Hillary Clinton was concerned over the ethics of the Clinton Foundation and whether foreign governments made donations in exchange for favorable treatment while she was Secretary of State. Trump's heading down what likely might be an even trickier path unless he heeds the Journal's advice. Joining me now, the man who literally wrote the book on the Clinton Foundation, Clinton Cash, the untold story of how and why foreign governments and businesses helped make Bill and Hillary rich. Peter Schweizer is a Breitbart News editor and head of the Government Accountability Institute. Peter, the premise of your book, Clinton Cash, was that the Clintons were able to skirt the legal prohibition against foreign involvement in American elections. Do you see a parallel set of circumstances between the Trump Organization and the Clinton Foundation that could head him into trouble?
Yes, there are some very perilous waters here, Michael. Look, the bulk of the holdings that the Trump Organization has is in real estate. And particularly when you go overseas to places like Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Russia, those large real estate deals that they engage in are inherently political. You basically have government involvement. And the big concern here is that they are either going to seek, the Trump Organization is going to seek favorable deals from these governmental entities, knowing that Donald Trump is president, or that foreign governments are going to offer sweetheart deals for the Trumps in hoping to curry favor. So there's a lot of work, I think, that needs to be done to create, as best we can, a wall to make sure that doesn't happen.
In other words, the concern that you had with regard to the Clinton Foundation was that a foreign individual or a foreign power could curry favor with the foundation by writing a check or by hiring Bill at an exorbitant fee to speak and therefore ingratiate themselves. And in this case, you're saying, hey, you can do business with the Trump Organization, and as long as the kids are running it, maybe your star rises.
Yes. I mean, look, imagine this scenario. The government of Russia wants better relations or wants something favorable from the federal government in Washington, D.C., and the Russian government approaches the Trump Organization and says, we've got this prime piece of real estate in Moscow. We would love to give it to you for fire sale prices so you can build a major project here. That's a huge problem. So, you know, the hope is that safeguards are being put in place, that the Trump Organization leadership is on guard for precisely this kind of scenario, because I think based on history, it's only a question of time when these kinds of offers are made. And if they take those offers, it's hugely problematic. It's not only a conflict of interest, it's the appearance of a conflict of interest, and then you've got major problems around U.S. policy towards that country.
And apart from the foreign prospect, let's just look domestically. And to be fair to the president-elect, he says, well, I'm going to be completely out of it and the kids will run the business. I don't know whether he meets the definition of blind trust the way that he envisions it. But you could also see domestic political entities. Maybe it's a union. Maybe it's big pharma. Maybe it's somebody with legislation that they'd like to see passed. And now the convention, it's at Doral. Or it's at that Washington hotel that he just opened up on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And Peter Schweizer and others will be writing new books and saying, is there a conflict here? Was there a quid pro quo?
Yeah, no, exactly, Michael. A couple of things. Some people have called for Donald Trump to divest himself from the Trump Organization. I think that's a great idea. I don't know all the legalities of it, but I think for him to sell his ownership stake in the companies would be very wise. Second of all, the Trump Organization should announce publicly, they don't have to do it legally, but I think they really should ethically, announce that they are not going to have any government contracts. They're not going to bid for contracts. They're not going to seek contracts with a General Services Administration or anybody else in the federal government. That at least offers some assurance that they're trying to create a bright line. But it's very, very difficult when you're talking about large real estate deals. These aren't stock trades where they trade in and out of stocks. to divest yourself from real estate holdings is not an easy thing, but I think it would be a very powerful thing to do and would send a great signal to the American people who are clamoring for somebody to clean up Washington, D.C.
That's good advice. Final question. What will you title the book?
Well, right now I am working on a project. It's a look at widespread corruption in Washington, D.C., involving both political parties, and we'll just have to see how things shake out. I am cautiously optimistic, hopeful that Trump, who comes to the White House saying he wants to drain the swamp, and I think he's going to have an ambitious agenda in that regard, will hopefully pay special attention to these kinds of ethical issues.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Michael.
So what should Trump do to alleviate concerns? Joining me now is Richard Painter. He was chief